Good morning. Last class we discussed about synchronization concepts, transaction points, and parameter test script. What is parameter test script? So can you tell what is synchronization? Synchronization of test script. What is that? Synchronization of test script. What is that? Passing the execution. You are going to just saying that pass the execution of the test script. Sometimes you want to pause your execution. We can set time mapping between execution time of QTP to elapsed time of the application is called synchronization. Okay. So what are the different possibilities are there to synchronize our execution? One, we can use a wait statement. When you use a wait statement, we can pass the execution fixed time. So fixed time to pass the execution. Second one is synchronization point, or we have the wait property method. What is the use of this one? Based on an object property value, we can pass the execution. So this is more preferable based on object property value. If suppose status bar is there, you can say that 100% color filled, then it has to continue the execution. Or OK button enabled, then only it has to continue the execution. Like this we can say using synchronization point or wait property method. The third one is we have the global synchronization timeout parameter. What is the default timeout parameter given here? This is 20 seconds of time they given default. During runtime, if specified object is not available, or in exist method, you are not given timeout parameter. So by default, your QTP is going to wait 20 seconds before going to give the error message to you. That is the global. Same way, for browser navigation timeout parameter, they given as 60 seconds. Specified browser is not available. By default, your QTP is going to wait 60 seconds. That is the browser navigation timeout parameter they are going to call. After that, we discussed about the transaction points. So what is the transaction points? What is the purpose? Using transaction points, we can estimate some portion of the script execution time, and also we can estimate the performance of the application for one user transactions. Here we have the two types of transaction points they given. Start transaction. Second one is end transaction. Start transaction and end transaction. So, the two types of transaction points they are given for us. The next thing we discussed about the parameterized test script. What is the parameter test script? Whenever we are going to pass the values, passing the test data to the script during runtime is called parameterized test script. The advantage of the parameterization, which increase reusability of the script. The purpose we do parameterization. In QTP, they are given three types of options to parameterize our test script. There are three types. One is random number. So when do you prefer this random number? Means whenever you want to parameter test script with a numeric value within the specified range, we can go for the random number option. The syntax for this random number of range you have to give. Range you can specify here. In case suppose if I go for like this, random number 1 comma 10 when I given, while execution time QTP selects any one of the number in that given range to parameters your test script. That is the random number option. The second one which you have the environment variables. The major purpose when we are going to prefer environment variables means whenever you want to reuse the same data in different actions, in different tests, we can go for the environment variables. Because so one variable we taken, we assign the value in our action script. That variable lifetime is within that action only. Same variable if we use in another action, it won't give the value to you. Lifetime of the variable within the action or within the function only. If I want to reuse the same values in different actions, in different tests, like application path, user ID, password values, we can go for the environment variables. So here, if I want to read the value from the environment variable, the syntax is like this. So local variable equal to environment dot value of environment variable name you have to give. Within double quotes you have to give the environment variable. Environment variable is case sensitive like this. So what type of environment variables we have in QTP? There are two types of environment variables. So one is here built-in environment variables. Second one is user-defined environment variables. We have the built-in environment variables. Second one is user-defined environment variables. Built-in environment variables are QTP-defined variables, system-defined variables to return specific value. So whereas this built-in environment variables we can find in QTP test settings. We go to test settings, we are going to find all the built-in environment variables like QTP, file menu, settings, so environment, the two types showing that built-in user defined. User defined nothing is there because not yet created by us. So we defined variables here. Built-in means system defined variables. These are the built-in environment variables. These are the user defined variables. Now that is the built-in environment variables, QTP test setting. User-defined environment variables, second thing. Again, if I go for user-defined environment variables, we have the two types here. One is internal environment variables. Second one is external environment variables. Internal environment variables, external environment variables. Internal environment variables which we can use within the test, any action script. One test, multiple actions we can use. Whereas external, any test, any action script we can use. In general, external environment variables we are going to maintain to the XML file. So directly you can write the XML file, or by exporting internal environment variables from the test settings also we can create the external environment variable file. If you want to associate external environment variable file, what is the syntax for that? To associate external environment variable file, so you have to go for environment dot load from file path of XML file where you have the environment variables. Again, dynamically we can associate like this. Okay. So, but when I go for the environment variables, yesterday we discussed one example on that. So, using external environment variables, using shared repository file, how we can do the login validation. That's good to discuss. But when I go for that concept, the disadvantage there, using environment variables, how many user ID password values you can pass? Only one set of values you can pass. We can't pass the multiple set of values. Now, you want to pass the multiple set of test data. For the purpose, in QTP, they given the data table. Data table is the given. Using data table. So what is the purpose here? In general, whenever you want to parameter test script with the multiple set of values, to parameterize test script with the multiple set of values, we can go for the data table. When do you prefer data table? When do you prefer random number? When do you prefer environment variables? First you have to understand that. The when to, which is scenario, random number. We don't know exact value, but some value it has to take in a range. We can go for the random number. Same values I want to reuse in different actions, different tests. Go for environment variables. I want to use multiple set of values to parameters. You can go for the data table. So whenever we are going to parameter test script with multiple set of test data in order to validate the application, this concept we are going to call data driven framework concept. When we parameter test script with a multiple set of values, that is comes under, so data driven framework we are going to call. That is a concept what we are going to discuss today, data driven framework. Okay. So whenever you want to go for the data driven framework, you should have some idea about the data table methods. So data table methods you should have some idea. So I will give the list of methods which are there. So no need to write, just see here. One is add sheet. Is the one method. What is the use of this add sheet method? When you go for data table, by default, how many sheets we are going to find? By default, we are going to find the global action one sheet. Now, so you want to add one more sheet here. So we can go for the add sheet method. That is the purpose, add sheet. To add new sheet in runtime data table. Runtime data table means that is in the tester result window. We are going to find the runtime data table. There you want to add. So what is the syntax for that? The syntax is data table dot add sheet, we have to say. So whatever sheet name you want to give, you can give the sheet name like this. Okay. Now data table, see data table when I write no space, data table. When you go for the dot here, given the list of methods which are available, that is QTP utility object data table. When I give one dot there, recognize it is an object, required methods are given. I want to add the new sheet, go for add sheet. Sheet name I want to give as my sheet, like this. If I run it, are you able to find the sheet here in our data table? So I want to see that my data table, what I will do here, I want to pause my execution 5 seconds of time. Now I am going to run it. When I run it is view data table. Let me run again. View data table. Now my sheet is there. Not. Fine. Now see my again. My sheet is there or not? My sheet is there. Only execution time it is showing the my sheet. Once execution is completed, so if I go for test result window, so view menu, expand, here it is data table, runtime data table is there. Go to runtime data table. Here we have the my sheet. The table which is available in our result window, that is comes under runtime data table. The table which is available in QTP main screen, this one is called design time data table. Design time data table. During runtime, if you do any operation on your design time data table, that will be appear to you only execution time. That's the reason execution of is in my sheet here. After execution is completed, those operations will be affected at the test result window, runtime data table. Test result window, runtime data table, not here. Okay. That is the add sheet method we have. Second one, a delete sheet. So what is the purpose to delete specified sheet from runtime data table? We can go for delete sheet. So what is the syntax for this? Data table dot delete sheet of, you can give sheet ID or name you can use. Now suppose my intention I want to delete the global sheet here. How we can write the script for that to delete the global sheet? Data table dot delete sheet of, you can say global. Sheet names, column names when I am going to write, those are case sensitive. Global, if I run it is. So here we are going to find my test result window, runtime data table. You won't find the global sheet there. You have only action one sheet. Instead of that, you want to say number one, that is a sheet ID I given. Then also the global sheet will be deleted. You can give the sheet ID or name you can give. But it is not possible to delete the both sheets. So it is not possible to delete the both sheets. Okay. At least one sheet you have to maintain. At least one sheet you have to maintain. Third one is import. So what is the purpose of the import? If we have data, suppose sheet 1 I have some values. Sheet 2 also I am going to enter some values here. Sheet 3 I am going to enter some numbers here. Like this I given some numbers here. I am going to save this document in my C drive. So with a name as sample.xls. I save. Now sim, I want to import the values which are available. To import data from external data table. We can go for the import. What is the syntax for that? Data table dot import path of file we have to describe. Data table dot import path of file. Now I go to my QTP. A new test I taken. If you observe that by default how many sheets we have here? Two sheets are there. Now how many sheets we have the data here? Sheet 1 we have, sheet 2 we have, sheet 3 also we have the data. So that means how many sheets are required for us? 3 sheets are required or not? So I am going to write it data table dot add sheet. That is the case where we are going to add the new sheet. Add sheet. So my sheet I am going to say this. Then data table dot import. Where is that file? Is the C drive sample dot xls, not xlsx. You try to save as xls only, not xlsx. It won't support. So latest version of the QTP supports 10.11.11.5. 11.5 supports. 11.0 is not going to support. So sample.xls. Now, if I run it, this is the source file. Already I opened on screen. Now if I run it, so it will give error message to you. When source file already opened on screen, it won't import the values to you. Okay. Make sure when you are doing import, so that source file should be closed. Close it. Now if you run it, so values are important or not. Open test result window, runtime data table if you see. So runtime data table where we are going to find the global action one. My sheet also we have the values. But things to observe here. No? Now what is the first row value is there here? Numbers. But when I imported, what happens here? The first row value become here as column name. Whenever you imported data, by default, the first row value, see every sheet like that only. So first row values becomes here column names. Okay. And also, if you see that test iteration 1, 2, 3 showing that. So that means the script when you run, it is executed 3 times, not 1 time. 3 times your script is executed. Why? Because when I imported data into the global sheet, how many rows we have the values here? 3 rows. By default, your script also going to execute 3 times. Now there is a problem we have. I am not interested to execute 3 times. Only 1 time I want to execute. We have some settings here in QTP for the global sheet like this. If I go for QTP, file menu, test settings. When you go, there is a run. We have an options here. Data table iterations. Run one iteration only. By default, which option is selected? Run on all rows. That is the reason how many rows you have the data in the global sheet, that many times your script is going to execute. Now if you selected one time only here, now if you run, this time it will go on to execute only one time in your script. So test the result window, runtime data table, only one time it is imported. It's not showing the multiple iterations here. Okay. But generally it is not preferable, so import. So particular sheet data only I want take. 3 sheets data is not required. Only I need 1 sheet data. Okay. In that case, we have the method called import sheet to import particular sheet data only. So the syntax here like this: data table dot import sheet path of data table wherever file is available, then source sheet ID. From which sheet data do you want to import? Where do you want to import? Destination sheet ID like this. Suppose this is my requirement now. I will go for the new test. Data table dot add sheet. My sheet is there. Data table dot add sheet, my sheet. New sheet I am creating. My requirement here, sheet 3 data I want to import into the, sheet 1 data I want to import into the, this my sheet from the sample file. Here sheet 1, which values are there? This values I want to import into the sheet 3. So how we can write the script for that? Data table dot, so import sheet C drive sample dot XLS. Data table dot import sheet sample dot XLS. Which is sheet data? Destination sheet, sheet 1. Where do you want to import? Source sheet to destination sheet. It is destination sheet, my sheet here. Now if I run it, and make sure the source file should be closed. If you run it, if I go to data result window, runtime data table, global sheet we don't have the values, action one sheet we don't have the values, we have the values in my sheet. Like this. First time explaining all the methods now which we are going to use. Now we are going to, later we are going to use this all the data table methods to do the parameterization of the scripts. First you have to understand what is the purpose of the method, what is the syntax. Okay. Next one. Get row count to find number of rows, data availability in a specified sheet. So what is the syntax for that? Data table dot get sheet of sheet ID or name you can use dot get row count to find number of rows data availability. Let us assume that I go for the new test. Global sheet. I'm going to enter some values here. So names. Inside queue. Mind queue. ABC queue like this. And actual sheet also I am going to enter. First I need to change the column name. ABC it won't consider. I need to give the column name here. Suppose I given numbers. I will give some numbers here like this. In a global sheet, I have the how many rows I have values? 3. In action one sheet, how many rows I have the values? 6 rows I give. Now I want to find here in a global sheet how many values are there. So n equal to data table dot get sheet of global dot get row count. Then message box of n. Where I have the values, global sheet also I have the values, and action sheet how many values? 6 rows are there. If I run my script, see that what will happen here, it is not going to execute only one time. So 3 is showing that, click on working, second time also it is executing, third time also it is executing, that will stop. Because always every new test, when you go for the default settings here, run on all rows with it. Previous test I changed, but when I go for the new test by default, which option is there here? Run on all rows. These options related to the global sheet, not for the action sheet. Okay. Now, I am not interested to execute that many times. Only I want to execute one time. Again, go to run one test only. You can select. Okay. Now, if you run it only one time, it is going to show to you. Now this time what I want to do, So in action sheet, I want to find how many rows are there. So go for the action 1 if you run our script. So how many times, I know how many rows we have, 6, but how many times script is executing? Only one time here. Okay. So what are the methods we discussed so far here? 5 methods. One is add sheet. Purpose to add new sheet in runtime data table. Second one, delete sheet. To delete specified sheet from runtime data table. Third one, import. To import data from external data table. Then import sheet. To import particular sheet data only. Then get row count. To find number of rows data available in specified sheet, we can go for the get row count. As the syntax also given. Okay. Now, another one, add parameter. What is the purpose here? To create new column and to enter value under that column. To create new column and to enter value under that column, we can go for the add parameter. We can go for add parameter. So what is the syntax for that? So data table dot get sheet of, so sheet ID or name, so get sheet of sheet ID dot add parameter, so column name comma value. First argument column, which column do you want to create, and value. Now see that here I have the global sheet, names is there. Now I want to go for something like this, data table dot get sheet of global dot add parameter status is a column I want to go. So value I want to enter under that past. Now if I run it, so it's not showing here. Once execute completed in the test result window, so runtime data table you can find it. Status is the column is created. Another we have the value passed. Suppose already I have the status. Status curve already existing. Again I return the add parameter status passed. Now see that if I run it, what will happen here? Test result window, runtime data table. So it is not enter the value under status. It is taken another column by giving some number, status 1. Under that go and enter the value. It won't overwrite existing value or existing column. It will take the new column, another only to go and enter the value. My case here this time, already column is existing. Under this column I want to enter the value. So in that case, we have the another data table method called value. Value. So what is the purpose of this method means? To enter and read data. Read and write, both operations we can do here using value method from data table. So what is the syntax for that? Data table dot value of column name comma then sheet name we can give like this. Data table dot value column name sheet name we have to give. Now see that here I want to enter the value under this status. So what I should write here? So data table dot value of, so column name. What is that one? Status. In which sheet we have it is? A global sheet we have. Equal to passed is the status I want to give. Run it is. If I go for test result window, runtime data table, we find the passed here, like this. Then already values are available here. These values I want to read. So how we can read it? Same script you have to write. Data table dot value of, where we have the values under names. In which sheet it is? Global. Somewhere it has to save the value for that one variable x equal to. Then message box of x. If I run it is, got the insert. Okay, like this. Now, which row values it is reading here if I run it is? First row value reading. Now, first row is not required. I want to go for the second row value I want to read. I can say like this. By default, it's moving to the first row. No? So, data table dot get sheet of in a global sheet dot set next row, I can say. By default, where it is focused, from there it has to go to the next row. It has to perform second row value like this. No, I want to go for third row. Then what I need to say? Can I write again? Data table dot get sheet global set next row. Again next row I can write or not? Same thing if I write twice. By default first row. When you set next row it will go to here. And again you have next row, it will go like this. If I run it is it going to work or not? But like this, maybe 10th row I want to go 10 times you want, right? That is not correct. Then what we have to do here? So data table dot get sheet of global dot set current row. Which row do you want to read? Directly you can specify using set current row. Okay. So when I run it, so third row where it going to read for us. Set current row you can use to specify on which row it has to perform operation. That is the set current row we are going to say. So the different data table methods which we have here. Okay. Next we'll see on this examples.